So for this demonstration, I'm going to be going over a couple of functions in Rhino, split and trim, bend, twist, and then I'm going to be showing you guys how you can potentially do some basic folding operations. That's probably the most complex component of this. First thing we need to do is we need to create an object that we're going to start to be able to modify. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a box. I'm going to put that in there, and we'll just call it 4 by 4 by 4. So we have a nice cube here. I'm going to go ahead and shade my viewport so we can see this. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to look at how we can start to split this particular set of geometries. So I'll go ahead and create an array of these first so I can perform different operations on each one. Since I'm going over about 4 commands, we'll go ahead and create 4 in the X direction, 1 in the Y, 1 in the Z, and then we're going to go ahead and space those every 6 inches. That looks very nice. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take these guys. I'm just going to hide them. I'll show them afterwards. So for splitting, what we need in order to create a successful split is we need to have a set of geometry that completely basically cuts in or bisects the geometry here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a surface through here, and we can go ahead and actually start to create. And this doesn't have to have any specific orientation to this. We can go ahead and rotate, and I'll go ahead and disable my snaps here so I can do this sort of freely. All right, so as we start to look at this, we can start to use these. We can clearly see that these two geometries completely cut each other in half, or cut holes out of one and the other. So what we want to do in order to run the split command is we select our geometry that we want to split, come over here and click the split command, and then we select our cutting object, and we can take that, and we can then take the half that we have here and move that away. Just move it 5 inches so we can see. Now this is nice because we've effectively created a really nice clean split. Since we used a planar geometry, you guys might have noticed that I created a plane and then cut it with a plane. We can just cap this. And so we have a really nice clean block here that's been synthesized by that. If you're not using a clean geometry, what we can then do is take this and, let's actually just undo that, and I'll create an awkward geometry, something that's not planar. So I take this, move these guys down, loft. So again, we have a very clear cutting through here. We can take this guy and split, select our surface that we want to split with. We get a nice clean split here. And then what we can do is we can run exactly the opposite function on this. So we'll take this and split it, and then we'll take this guy and take him. So now we have this guy cleaned out, and we don't really need him anymore, so we'll go ahead and hide him along with these guys. So we'll take this, and I'm going to, again, move this back 5 inches. We have our guy sitting there, and we have a nice solid here. And I'm going to take this so we can create sort of a matching set here of geometries that we'll piece together, and just copy that up 5 inches. Let's pull this up. You can see we have a very clear split geometry here. Let's join those together. This is a really effective methodology for creating closed poly surfaces when you have to take things to 3D printing, or if you're just trying to represent some kind of trimming operations that you've done on solids. Okay. The second function, I'll go ahead and show all this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and hide. That is going to go through trim. These guys as well. And we're going to go ahead and say we want to punch a cylindrical hole through this geometry. So we can go ahead and just create that. I'll make sure that they don't overlap so we can get a nice clean trim. So in the case of trim, you just select all the geometry that's going to be involved in this, and then you're going to go ahead and just hit trim. And we can literally start trimming away by just selecting on the areas we want to trim out. And when we're done, we hit enter, and we can just join those geometries together. You can see that we have punched an effectively clear hole through this, and again, we have a nice closed poly surface up at the top here. All right, so I'll hit show again. Go ahead and hide these geometries so they're not in my way. You can also use layers, put them on different layers to show that. And the next operation we're going to go through is twist. So we're going to go through, and that's the button for this is actually found within the transform tool under the move command. So we can go ahead and there's the command right there. In this case, we can just type twist, as well. Ask us for a start of the twist axis. And I'm going to go ahead and re-enable this. And I'm going to turn on my center point here so I can roll over the edge of this, and hopefully here it'll give me an edge. And it's not going to do it because there's no curves here. But suffice to say, what we can do is I'll go ahead and just disable that, and then I have my snaps. So we'll call that the center of the twist. And then if you hold Shift in one of the other view planes, you can make that axis move perpendicular to the ground plane. And you can do just the same in the other function. And then we can grab our little angle, and then we can literally start bending and twisting the geometry. And you can see that this, depending on the complexity, is going to rebuild with multiple contours on it. So it's very important where you place the start and end axis for that, because we reposition that on the edges here and go like that. It obviously has very distinct implications in terms of how that twist operation is actually going to be performed. So something to pay attention to. You can see that this axis remains straight during this operations. Like that. Right. And then the last function we have here is the bend tool here. And so we'll take this guy. That's located right here on also underneath the move tool. So we just click bend. And for the bend tool, we define a spine for this thing to be bent about. And then we can literally start to bend that geometry. And it wants to do this always on a circular arc here. And you can see how it's distorting some of the other geometries. But you can start to create and bend and reshape some of these guys. You start to play around with this as a geometry set. You can create some really complex forms by massaging this into place. This way. And so that's effectively how those 4 commands work. Split, trim, which are essentially very similar. Bend, twist. Right, and then the last guy is going to be fold. And so if you have something where you're going to be folding geometries, I'm going to start in here with this, with a plane. What you want to do with that is you actually are going to create some kind of a surface, and then you're going to be creating incisions using curves or some other bisector to trim that out. And so what we can do is we can take this, we'll use the split command, and select our cutting objects. All right, and then we get a set of these guys that are then set up here. And so what we're going to do to get these guys to fold up, we're going to do a 3D rotation. So we're going to go ahead and take this, and if we right-click on this, you can see the mouse over. We can create and define a rotation axis, and we do that along where our split was, and then we just grab one of the tips of our folds here, and then we can literally start to bend that up. You can see that happening. So just very quickly, you can start to bend these geometries around. And of course, if you were clever about this, you could set up geometries that you wanted them to snap to. So if I wanted this to come up and orient itself to that geometry, I'm not sure this is going to work, but we can certainly try. Bend that up, and then we can sort of orient this towards, say, the mid of this particular curve. So now that's in alignment. All right, and that covers all those basic functions.